Okay, today we're going to learn how to report diversity spend. Well, the task is report diversity spend to top management and internal stakeholders. Level appropriate reporting. Not all data is equivalent to all stakeholders. They don't all want to know the same thing. The appropriate level and type of data should be presented according to the stated goals of the audience. Executives should have a comprehensive view of the total spend as a company by business unit and by region and by industry. Business units may require product line specific data. So communications show senior management how supply actions support corporate goals. Communicating supplier diversity program initiatives clearly and convincingly show to senior management and internal customers the value proposition and business case for diverse suppliers. So targeting communication, understand how to target communication, tailoring it to the right group to communicate with and tailoring the communication to that specific group. Communication approaches for senior management are different from those for internal customers or stakeholders. Senior management will be concerned about overall goals, may not think of strategies in terms of sourcing or supply management. And internal customers will be concerned about their own functional goals, less strategic and more tactical. Plan communication, work to have regular briefings to senior management on the value and status of strategic sourcing initiatives. Invite executives to annual or quarterly business review meetings with diverse suppliers, even if it is only for a few minutes in the meeting, maybe at the very beginning of the meeting. Brief senior management on developing and integrating strategies into the business practices for diverse suppliers, and provide feedback to senior management on the results of the past activities and what was expected to be achieved, why actual results were more or less than expected. And guidelines for communication with senior management, be thorough. Do not assume that the executive is completely familiar with contextual details, and they usually aren't. But you don't want to get too far in the weeds with them either. Synchronize team efforts prior to the presentation. Focus on salient points, use graphs and charts, and exercise good form. Be concise and coherent. So format standards and frequency of reporting to different business units. So business units generally require detailed data consistent for all suppliers. Things like prices, quantities, part numbers, market trends, benchmarking, actual performance versus goals, forecasts. Using Pareto charts can assist in displaying the relevance of the spend compared to other suppliers. Supplier diversity reports are often timed to coincide with other spend analysis updates provided to business units. Usually it's not a supplier diversity report by itself. This will ensure that supplier diversity spend analysis is embedded into existing meetings. So spend analysis. So you got to do data compilation. Spend data provides the capability for spend analysis. That can lead to improved supply management, sourcing strategies, control, and performance. So it's all about technology. Spend management technology is a growing area for many organizations. This can include the following: e-procurement systems, retail shopping catalogs, other things like that. Have data in them, modules that handle spend analysis, allow organizations to segment purchases by commodity, supplier, and amount. And ERP will continue to break new ground in areas of supplier performance, financial forecasting, soliciting, sourcing, and bid optimization. Prior to starting spend analysis, stakeholders must be interviewed to find all sources of data. You've got probably more than a few of them. Additional steps in building a spend database are establishing mapping between the category codes and the category maps, or putting category codes in there in the first place. Normalize supplier information, like how a supplier's name is spelled and it's only in there one way. Perform supplier mapping, refine mapping with financial systems data, combine spend data into a unified database, some kind of electronic warehouse, data warehouse, create initial reports, QA initial reports, provide feedback on initial reports, and modify database on feedback. So the output, the most common output is spend analysis, we can call the spend tree, but there's also the waterfall, the ogive, and spend trees, and they're all used. We'll cover what they look like in a minute. When analyzing spend, supply management should review things like spend size, savings percentages from past experiences in related markets, competitiveness of the supply market, volume related to the supply market, how recently the category was strategically sourced, the supplier fragmentation, underlying commodity markets, conditions, diverse suppliers, payment terms, new potential business that will be sourced. So this is an example of a waterfall chart. And notice these categories at the bottom here. We'll keep those same categories and the same numbers. We're just going to show different ways of organizing it. So you can do the waterfall chart, or you can do the ogive, or you can combine the two into a Pareto analysis with an ogive. Then this is a spend tree. So the ogive and the waterfall are just the same chart, just opposite directions. And usually they'll combine this ogive as a line above a Pareto analysis, which is a ranked histogram. But spend tree is an interesting look too. Relevance of data, awareness of diverse supplier spend initiatives is generally low, which is why communication is essential. Some strategies to consider, which may enhance the effectiveness of the communication, include the following. Choosing diverse supplier spend data that fit with the organization's strategy so the congruence is obvious to stakeholders. Emphasizing long-term commitment by the organization and the specific impacts sought. Seeking the support of independent external communication sources to establish credibility, encouraging employee communication of the initiatives through social networks, and choosing initiatives that have the strongest support from stakeholders. There's your big one there. Influence. So it's the degree of supply management's influence in the organization depends on the degree to which executive management perceives supply management as a contributor to the overall success of the organization. Supply management objectives and strategies have got to align with those of other functions in the overall organization. Otherwise, the executives are not going to be very happy with you. So here's some questions. When you are presenting a business case to senior management, what would you not include in the following list? Focus on salient points. Well, that's pretty much every presentation. Be thorough and do not assume the executive is familiar with contextual details. Here's one case where the longest answer is not what you want because you're looking for a not. Synchronize team efforts prior to the presentation. You'd want to do that. Eliminate charts and graphs. Well, you wouldn't want to eliminate them. You would want to add them in. So it's got to be D. Yeah, go pack a lunch here while I wait for this computer. D it is. All right, an organization decides to implement a supplier diversity program to counteract negative press. They want to also improve public image, link sales and revenue, and gain a competitive advantage. Supply market professional or supply management professional combines these reasons with financial reports and spend analysis on the supply base to develop which of the following? A formal analysis for suppliers diversity qualification. No. The supplier diversity program business case, that's a possibility. Help develop the organization's SWOT analysis. No. Meet formal requirements, supplier diversity certification. Nope, it's got to be B. And B it is. All right, let's do some summary. Supplier diversity reports are often timed to coincide with other spend data analysis updates provided to the business unit. So don't do it by itself, do it with other spend updates. This will ensure that supplier diversity spend analysis is embedded into the existing meetings and aligns with cultural expectations. Awareness of diverse supplier spend initiatives is generally low, both inside and outside the company, which is why communication is essential. All right, let's go look at some questions here. Questions for J3. All right, how many we got here? Oh, only 6. So we'll go over the answers in a few minutes. Answers. All right, for some answers here. Number 1 is Charlie. 2 is Bravo. 3 is Alpha. 4 is Charlie. 5 is Bravo. And 6 is Delta. All right, tomorrow we will tackle J4.